Now why this scheme? This scheme is try to understand that there are several small saving schemes. There are several small saving schemes like National Savings Certificate, different types of post office, all the post office deposits, fixed and saving deposit will come under small savings scheme. Then savings like Suganya Samriddhi Yojana, especially for girl child. Then senior citizen saving scheme, public provident fund, then Kisan Vikas Patra, all are small saving schemes. So regarding, I am not going to the nitty gritty of small saving schemes. I don't think so it is very important, except this Suganya Samriddhi Yojana and public provident fund. But all these come under, all these are small saving scheme. So it is a what? It is a saving scheme, and as the term suggests, it's a small savings. It's small amount. Now, what is the speciality of this scheme? So before going to the speciality of this scheme, I'll tell you why it is important for your prelims 2017. Okay, again, in April 2016, the government have brought about an important change in relation to small savings scheme. So one reason why it is important is the time in which the government have introduced the scheme, or not introduced the scheme, made very important change to the scheme, that's April 2016. Now what this change? So before, so that time period you need to be very clear to know its importance. Now regarding this savings scheme, try to understand that to this savings scheme, before April 2016, it was whoever invests in this small savings scheme will get a fixed interest rate. Whoever invests in this scheme will get a fixed interest rate for their savings. Earlier they used to get a fixed interest rate for their savings, and try to understand that the interest rate is different for different saving schemes based on their priority. Try to understand the highest interest rate is given to Suganya Samriddhi Yojana, which is a scheme to promote girl child, their education and other this thing. So that's why that scheme is very important. And second is senior citizen saving scheme. So see, try to understand, one is girl child, other is senior citizen. So both these schemes, you know that both are weaker sections of our society. They have been given higher, they are having the highest. See, the rate is not important for you. What is important for you is that you need to know which scheme is getting higher interest rate. These two schemes is getting higher interest rate, and the reason is very simple. They are because of these two category of girl child and senior citizen. So any scheme, if whoever invests in this savings scheme, they used to get a fixed interest rate annually. Annually they will get. So it was an annual fixed interest rate scheme, and what the government used to do is that every year, annual means year, every year the government, based on the prevailing market interest rate, based on the prevailing market interest rate, the government used to adjust the small savings schemes interest rate. So earlier it was annually government make changes in relation to small savings scheme. Now what the changes government have done in April 2016 is that government said that from now onwards, that is from April 2016 onwards, the rate will be revised every quarter. The rate will be revised so based on the prevailing market rate, now that is from April 2016 onwards, every quarter, after every 3 months, the government will set the interest rate. So it's very simple, okay. If you joined at a particular interest rate till it get matured, you will get the same interest rate. But when the government is saying that the interest rate for this quarter is this much and you have joined and that time, you will get only that much interest. That's why it used the word fixed interest. So the most important thing happened in April 2016 is that now quarterly revision will happen. Quarterly revision will happen in relation to interest rate. Now what happened? In April, the government have revised. Then in the next quarter, so 4 quarters have passed, and recently the 5th quarter also have passed. So the news is repeating. So it's not as a one-time news. So whenever this quarterly revision happen, there used to be discussion why the government have changed it, how it is affected, what is the benefit for this revision, etc. like that. So that's another reason why this scheme is very important for you. Okay. Now regarding this, it's not about the value. Just have an idea what the government have done. In April, the government have made a drastic reduction. In April 2016, the small schemes interest rate were reduced from in the range of 0.6% to 1.3%. That drastic reduction have happened to different schemes. Okay. So in April 2000, in the first quarter, that is April, May, June, in this quarter 2017, in this quarter there was a drastic cut. It went up to 1.3% to certain schemes. Value is not important, but try to understand a drastic cut happened in this time period. In the next quarter, that is July, August, September quarter, government didn't touch it, so it's same, it remained same. Now why I am telling is that you need to have an idea how is the movement of this interest rate, whether it is same or is there any movement in it in the present scenario. Then again in the third quarter, another quarter, that is from October to December, it cut the interest rate by 0.1% throughout all the schemes. In the third quarter of 2016-17 financial year, it cut the rate by 0.1% throughout all the schemes. In the fourth quarter, it didn't touch it. January to March, it remained again same. Recently, that is for this quarter, that is from April, May, June quarter, it has again cut by 0.1% to all the schemes except post office saving deposit, which is having a very low interest rate. But throughout, so generally it was a cut of 0.1% in the, so this is the movement. So by seeing this, one thing you can say that, okay, there is, if you see the graph, the interest rate of small savings scheme is coming down. It's coming down in the last 5 quarters. We have only data of 5 quarters. Now how it will, so this reduction in the small interest rate happened mainly due to what? What is the reason? To which it is linked to? The small savings schemes interest rate is linked to prevailing market interest rate. And what is this prevailing market interest rate linked to? Government securities interest rate. I told you 10-year benchmark government security or government securities interest rate is linked to this. So whatever happened to the government securities interest rate, that will have an influence over the prevailing market rate. So you can say directly that the government securities rate will influence the small savings scheme interest rate. Now if you noticed one thing, okay, the interest rate of there is a wider difference. So one influence the small savings scheme is having is over the, what is the interest rate for government securities. Again, This government securities interest rate is influenced by liquidity. Yes or no? Who purchase government securities? Public they purchase, the bank purchase. Okay. Now try to understand that. So just have an overall idea. So regarding the present scenario, and regarding this government securities interest rate, is it linked to the repo rate? Yes, because repo rate, based on the repo rate, it will. So it's like this. Okay. Prevailing market rate is influenced by government securities rate. Government securities interest rate is influenced by the repo rate. So what happened in relation to the repo rate? What RBI have done in from January 2016 till this point of time, or in the last 2 years, what the RBI have done? What is the present scenario? There have been 175 basis point cut in relation to repo rate. So overall, what we are having is a lower interest rate regime. We are having a lower interest rate regime. So that's the reason why. Plus there is sufficient liquidity. So presently the interest rate prevailing. Now if you see the government securities rate, when it compared to April last year and this year April, it is still low. Why? The demonetization impact have influenced. The government security. So one is the repo rate. Since there is what you can say, the prevailing market rate, which is highly influenced by. Try to understand that. Okay, don't get confused. Okay, when the repo rate is changed, it directly impact the government securities market. Now try to understand. I already told you when I discussed in the last session. Okay, the repo rate is the policy rate of RBI. RBI want all other rates to fall in line with the repo rate, including the government securities rate. Okay, so repo rate have come down, naturally this will also come. So one relation for small savings interest rate is linked to the prevailing market rate, that is linked to the government securities rate. This is one issue. So that's the reason why small savings scheme is coming down. Now try to understand that in April 2016, there was a great pressure. See, April 2016 is a time in which, when demonetization happened? November only. So April 2016 things are different. Now just compare the small saving deposit with the bank deposit. I'm making a comparison of small savings deposit with the bank deposit. How this scheme affects the banking sector. Now compare bank deposit, fixed bank deposit, and the small saving deposit. Now small saving deposit interest rate is determined by the government, earlier annually, now quarterly. Bank deposit is determined by the bank itself. Every bank can decide. Now who will deposit in both these deposits? The common man. Now if I am giving you an option, you want to invest some deposit. You have been given a chance to deposit in small savings and bank deposit. Small savings is giving you a return of 8, it's just a comparison. Small savings is giving a return of 8%. Bank is giving a return of, fixed deposit is given of 7%. Where you will deposit? Small savings. Plus in major small savings scheme, there is a tax exemption is there under section 80C. Plus there is a guarantee also by the government. So normally what will happen? Naturally the deposit, so bank deposit, small saving deposit is competing with bank deposit, and lot of deposit is going to small savings scheme. So it was a regular demand by the bank to the government to reduce small savings scheme. In April 2016, scenario was different. In relation to the bank loan rate. Bank loan rate was very high in April 2016. But RBI have reduced repo rate. RBI have reduced repo rate. But bank is not reducing their lending rate. Bank is telling that, okay, this is not sufficient. Okay, along with the repo rate reduction, you please reduce small savings rate. Then only, see, the bank profit is linked to the deposit rate. Unless and until the bank can't reduce the deposit rate, it can't reduce the lending rate, because their margin lies there. It takes deposits and lend. Majority of its the lending money is coming from deposits only. So unless and until, now if they reduce the deposit rate, what will happen? More deposit will shift to small savings. So the better option, so bank was forcing the government what? To reduce, bank was forcing the government to reduce the small savings interest rate. So by taking into consideration all these factors, so the pressure in April 2016 mainly came from bank to reduce. Now things have changed because of demonetization. I am talking about the April. So you need to understand the influence this rate in small savings cut will have over monetary transmission. What is this monetary transmission? Monetary transmission means the monetary policy wishes has to be transmitted down to the customer. Monetary means what will happen in monetary policy has to reach to the customer. If RBI is reducing repo rate, then bank have to reduce lending rate, then only it will benefit the customer. For that to happen, small savings rate has to be cut, then only this will happen. So there is a direct link between this rate cut of small savings scheme and monetary transmission. This is another angle to it. You're clear with it? So these are interrelated. Then comes the other part. That is the relation between this small savings scheme and the government. The relation between the small savings scheme and the government. Now my question is, where this fund goes to? All the small savings fund collected, where it goes to? It goes to a fund. Who administer that fund, and from how that money is deposited? From where this, see, try to understand all the saving schemes deposit. All the saving scheme deposit goes to a fund, what is called as NSSF. All the saving schemes deposit goes to a fund, what is called as National Small Savings Fund. Now specialty of this fund is that, okay, try to understand that this fund is administered by Department of Economic Affairs. This fund is administered by Department of Economic Affairs under the Ministry of Finance. Very important department. The same department which prepares budget. Okay. Now try to understand that, see, so all the proceed goes to this fund. Now try to understand that this fund, this amount is not going to, we have, when you studied polity, you have studied about different types of account. Consolidated Fund of India, Public Account of India. So this fund, while dealing Public Account of India, you might have known that, okay, there is a difference between consolidated fund and public account. In public account, any changes or any withdrawal from public account don't require the approval of Parliament. So this fund is put under public account. This fund is put under public account. Now this fund, what will be used for? The government, what the government does, government borrows from this fund. So actually the national small savings schemes, all the small savings schemes, the deposit is used by the government both at the center and at the state to borrow money. You know that now both center is having fiscal deficit, state is having fiscal deficit. What do you mean by fiscal deficit? The government is have to borrow. So one of the option for the government, both at the state, now try to understand, mainly state borrow more than the center. State borrow mainly from the NSSF. Why? Try to understand that center have lot of options to borrow. Since center can borrow at a higher, lower interest rate. Since the majority of the states like West Bengal, where their credit guarantee is lesser, they will depend on this type of fund. Try to understand that any state which is having high debt, high deficit, they have to borrow at a high interest rate. So the safe option is to take it from here, since it is a managed by the government, you can withdraw. But here, since savings scheme is giving higher interest rate, then this loan taken from this fund, interest rate will be higher. Now how it will, the rate cut in small savings scheme will benefit the government, yes or no? Now the government can borrow from this fund at a lower interest rate. So it's not only benefiting the monetary transmission, but it is also benefiting the government debt. Means they can borrow from this fund at a lower interest rate. So that linkage is also you need to. But the other issue, the other aspect, those who are the loser here, like especially senior citizen, the public provident fund, which is also a small savings scheme. So those who invest and expect a higher return. But when you look into the other aspect, when you see since this is giving a better return than any other option, that there a small sacrifice. But again, we have segregated differently. Again, to weaker sections, the cut was less. They still have a better return, and also we have given them tax exemption also. So in that way, everyone in the country have to make a bit of compromise for the larger public interest. So this is a big changes, or very important change brought by the central government to bring about a fiscal prudence. Again, see, there are government is making different steps to reduce fiscal deficit. So this is another one step. So it's not only promoting fiscal consolidation for the government, it is also helping monetary transmission also. But try to understand, the cut is not as per the expected line. Still there is a difference. The government is moving in a cautious manner, since the vulnerable sections are included under these schemes. But in the long run, the government will align the small interest rate scheme with the prevailing market interest rate. But again, try to understand that there will be, this small savings scheme will have a better return than bank deposit. So it will carry its edge, because of it will give a better return than bank deposit, plus majority of the small savings schemes is having tax exemption. So that have an idea. So from this angle, be very clear with it, the relation small savings scheme is having over monetary transmission, the relation the small savings scheme have over fiscal consolidation or the government debt, and the recent changes made by the government. Now it is set quarterly. Now every quarter this news will come in relation to. So whenever a quarter begins, before a quarter the announcement will. So April 1st they will announce. Then the next quarter they will announce this. They say that this is in this 3 month this will be the interest rate for all the small savings scheme. Then there will be a news on it. Now try to understand that once the prevailing market rate increases, then the interest rate increases. Now what is the situation? We are in a lower interest rate regime. That's why rate cut. When the interest rate increases, there will be a gradual movement in the small savings interest rate. So it is aligning with in long term, it is aligning, the small savings scheme interest rate is going to align with the market determined interest rate. So let market decides the interest rate for the small savings scheme as well. So this is a major objective for the means taken by the government in relation to small savings scheme. It's a very important current affair for you. And if your concept is clear, if any question comes, if it is a conceptual one, like they can link it, or if they can ask a factual related one, I had already discussed every important point, then just revise these points, you can answer it.